Sure.
David, you ready?
Okay, the time is approximately 6 p.m. The October 26, 2023 Farragut Board and Mayor and Alderman meeting will now begin. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen in attendance and online. I want to thank you for your presence at tonight's Board and Mayor and Alderman meeting. My name is Ron Williams, the fourth elected mayor, town of Farragut. We appreciate that each of you has taken the time from your busy schedules to either attend or view tonight's meeting to see how our town government works. All Farragut Board and Mayor and Alderman meetings are public notice per Tennessee state law. Our meetings can be seen live on Charter Channel 193 or on TDS Channel 3, as well as the Farragut YouTube channel and our website. All board meetings are recorded and can be viewed at a later date on the above-mentioned locations. If you're in attendance, you should be able to pick up a copy of tonight's agenda at the door when you come in. If you were not able to attend tonight and are viewing from home, then the agenda is available online at our website. For those in attendance that would like to speak, please pick up a blue card at the door and write your name and the agenda number you wish to comment on. There will also be time reserved at the end of tonight's meeting for citizens' comments on non-agenda item subjects, which also require that you fill out a blue card with citizens' comments as the time you wish to speak. On each agenda item, the mayor will ask the town recorder for residents' input. During this time, any Farragut resident wishing to speak to the board on that specific agenda item may do so for up to 5 minutes. After being recognized by the mayor, please go to the podium microphone in order to be heard and viewed by all. To conduct efficient business like meetings, the town has adopted rules for how its meetings will be conducted. Primarily, these rules are designed to keep the meeting moving, assure that all points of view are heard and considered, and provide common courtesy to everyone. We ask that you observe the established meeting rules when addressing the board. At the beginning of your presentation, please state your name and address for the record. We ask that you address all of your questions to the mayor or, in his absence, the vice mayor. Do not direct questions to the alderman or the staff members. If necessary, the mayor may call on an alderman or staff member concerning your question or your comment. Once you have given your input, please return to your seat so that we can continue. We ask that every speaker avoid the use of improper language, profanity, or other inappropriate conduct, and address issues, not individuals or personalities, with malicious comments. Speakers should strive to avoid redundancy and should have their own original viewpoints. We ask that you also stay on topic of that particular agenda item. We're here tonight doing the people's business. It's a very important responsibility for all of us. Okay, with the meeting called to order, we'll start tonight's meeting with a roll call for a quorum prior to standing for a silent prayer, which will be followed by a pledge of allegiance to our country's flag tonight, held by Alderman Meyer.
Alderman Burnett.
Here.
Alderman Meyer.
Here.
Alderman White.
Here.
Vice Mayor Povlin. Here. Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams here.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Meyer. Okay, is there any agenda amendments tonight?
No, sir.
None? If
Move
none,
to approve.
in favor of approval, please say yes.
Yes.
Let the record show the October 26, 2023 agenda has been approved as posted. Is there any amendments to the minutes?
No, sir.
None? Okay, I'll ask for a motion, please.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, if in favor of approval, please say yes.
Yes.
Let the record show the October 12, 2023 minutes have been approved as posted. Next will be the mayor's report. And this is for me personally. I want to start by thanking all my friends and neighbors for the overwhelming support that I've had from each this week. It's very much appreciated. Vice Mayor's report.
I'd like to defer mine to right before citizens forums after we're finished our business items, please.
Okay, granted.
Thank you.
Ordinances. Tonight, we'll have one ordinance for review, a public hearing. It will be on the second reading, Ordinance 23-15. Ordinance to amend the equipment fund budget for fiscal year 2023-2024, passed by Ordinance 23-07.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, or we're not going to do Alderman reports?
Oh, did you have something?
I do.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do I have the floor?
You sure do.
Thank you, sir.
You're more than welcome.
I had given a short report before on the town meeting that we gave, but I've had some questions from citizens, and especially one question that I got was, what do you consider adequate citizen participation? I'd already answered that question one time before I asked to have the meeting, and my answer was notification to all citizens that a meeting is being held, and invite anybody and everybody that wanted to come but had an opinion, had something to say, or had a question. Have that meeting, have them all there, answer their questions, and let them speak out. Well, there's some things happened in regard to our meeting, and I feel compelled to, for the record, to tell what those were, and I want it made clear. I'm not indicting anybody particularly. I'm not accusing anybody particularly. This is just my opinion and what happened for the record. I requested a citizens' town meeting to discuss the land purchase. The mayor was nice enough to let me have that, and it was scheduled. 2 weeks before, it wasn't in the paper. I called town hall, and that's why we weren't advertising the meeting. And I was told it was just too early, that there would be plenty of time before the next meeting. And I was assured that it would be in all the publications that we normally use to advertise a public town meeting to do town business. Well, on the Wednesday before the meeting, it was not in the paper. I called town hall and asked why that it wasn't advertised in the paper, and I was told that it should have been. We didn't know why, but we'd have to ask some questions and figure out why it wasn't. And it wasn't on the town website. So on Friday morning, before the meeting, I received a call from town hall, and they said they didn't know what happened, that it should have been advertised, and it must have been Farragut Press that erred and didn't get it in there. It's still, and I was told at that time it was now on the town website. So I checked the town website, it was not there. I called Farragut Press and got a real nice lady who searched every website that they have where stuff could come in that could have come in by mistake. It wasn't there. It wasn't in the shopper, and it wasn't on social media. As far as I know, I don't participate in that, so I'd have no idea if it was on there or not. A couple of citizens, though, and at least one alderman did say that it was in the paper. Well, where it was in the paper was a short line in a newspaper article. That's not official notification of a town meeting where you're discussing town business and spending $5,500,000. So we had the meeting, we went to the meeting, And much to my surprise, there was quite a few people there. However, most of those people were from the McPhee Road area. And I kind of wondered, how did, 50 or 60 people get notified, but the rest of the town didn't. But that's either here nor there. When we got there, I was expecting for the meeting to go to answer questions, let people speak their mind, and hear positive or negative, yes or no's, like it or don't like it, whatever. Well, that didn't happen. It was a well-orchestrated, well-organized advertisement, or concert, you might say. It had kind of a texture of an Elvis concert, where everybody's favorite song was played. It started out, the first intention of this property was to be a sports park. Good idea. I like that idea. Where you would have concession stands, you would have dressing rooms, you would have people come from all over the country, stay in our motels, eat at our restaurants. But that wasn't going to work because of the Maddox development over on Watt Road. The big sports complex he was doing, we couldn't compete. So that idea was scrapped. So we had to sing another song. So we sang, let's just do ball fields. And we can put some soccer fields there. We have a shortage of them anyway. We need them. We need some fields because our demand for sports fields was way more than our capability. Well, that didn't work because we had to cut too many trees, and the people didn't want to cut the trees. Well, okay, that song didn't work, so let's sing another song. Let's just call it a park, a nature park, where we can put walking trails and people can walk around and get close to nature and just enjoy it. Well, when you cut a road with a 50-foot easement from front to back, and then you cut walking trails all through a piece of property, that takes a lot of trees down. So people didn't want those trees to go, so they didn't like it. So we said, okay, let's sing another song. So we sang, let's just buy it and reserve it for future generations. That saves all the trees, and then let another board at another time decide what they want to do with it. And that seemed to work. Everybody liked it. The majority of the citizens were there, liked it. And we got to vote. The only problem was a lot of us didn't know we had to take our cell phones in to vote. We weren't told. So a lot of us didn't get to vote because we left our cell phones in the car. So that's exactly what happened. And it was almost like an Elvis concert, and all the songs were sang. But tonight, the last song will be sung, because we're going to vote on that tonight. And you're going to get your wish, most likely. And there won't be any trees cut. But we'll end this concert just like Elvis used to end his. In regards to this contract, Elvis has left the building. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Anybody else got anything that,
Yeah, sure.
go ahead, Drew.
Yeah.
You've got
thank
the
you,
floor.
Mayor. Thank you. So being on the south side, I think it would be important to get my feedback of how I think things went from the community outreach. Myself, along with Alderman White, represent the South Ward. Probably no surprise, but I had a very, very different experience with the town outreach. If you were anywhere on social media, anywhere within 5 arms lengths of social media, you knew about this meeting. I'll be very, very honest with you. Before this meeting was scheduled, I felt like I had a pulse of the South Ward at a very minimum, much less the entire town, on the support for this project. for the parkland, whatever it may be, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I felt very, very confident. It's very rare that I go out in public anywhere and somebody was not at that time talking to me about the parkland. So I felt very comfortable that I knew what the majority of residents wanted. But Alderman White did ask for this meeting, and I thought it was a great idea after the meeting happened. I thought it was great, all the details that came out, a good presentation that was had. You got to deliver feedback electronically, which was shown to everybody instantaneously. I do understand his frustration for people that don't carry cell phones with them and just didn't have them on them. So I can understand that. But people were able to electronically immediately provide feedback. And then they were also given an open mic. I was at the very back of the room. I had a kids event that I had to get to, and I didn't know how long the meeting was going to last, but I was there till the end, and everybody that was in the line got to give their feedback. And so leaving that meeting reassured me what I had already felt. The overwhelming majority of people supported this. So I did leave that meeting very, very encouraged and had a very, very different experience than Alderman White on that. In terms of the parkland itself, it's my belief and thought that we have been very clear from the beginning. We have no design for this park. There could be 100 tennis courts out there, 100 pickleball courts, sorry, George. Could be 15 baseball fields, 20 basketball. There's no plan. It could be all walking trails. The trees don't withhold the development of anything. Those trees can be taken down. We have a tree ordinance that says you take them down, you got to replace them somewhere else in the town. I don't want those trees gone. But the point is, we've never said this is what this park is for. We've been pretty darn clear in 5, 10, 15 years when people look back at these meetings and they say, what was the intent of this park? I believe we've been very clear. We are not, if this goes through, we are not purchasing this for a specific park. It's not going to be, we don't have the design of a baseball complex with 20 fields. We don't have a design. So to say and try and read in the record, well, we had this design, then we backed off of it. Well, we thought we could get more support here, so I've not heard anyone say what this design of this park would be in a manner to try and get people to support it. I haven't. I've got a lot of kids. I love sports. I would love for it to be sports related. But we're not buying it under the precondition that it be XYZ park. And we have not stated that either, so we have not said something, backed off, said something, backed off in order to gain more support. I think that's all I'll say into the record now, Mayor.
Okay. With that said,
I apologize. We do have an elected official in the room. Our representative, 5th District Representative from County Commission, John Schoonmaker, is here. We're terrible about doing that, John. I'm sorry. Nobody ever comes to our meetings, so we're not used to that. So thank you for being here.
okay. Okay, without further notice, we'll move on to Ordinance 23-15. It is an ordinance to amend the equipment fund budget for fiscal year 2023-2024, passed by Ordinance 23-07.
Yes, sir. This is the second reading of this ordinance, and there is one slight change for the ordinance. We are needing to add $1,500 to the new expenditure because of a truck you'll all be looking at later this evening. But it'll be amended to increase the expenditures from $111,000 to $339,000, which is on top, a $1,500 increase from the last meeting. And this is for the equipment that was budgeted in fiscal year '23 that will actually be purchased in fiscal year '24. So the motion is to approve ordinance 23-15 on second and final reading.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, thank you for the motion and second. Do we have any resident comments
No,
on this
sir.
one? We do not. Okay, discussion. Vice Mayor, you have anything?
I have nothing.
Alderman Burnett?
And no questions.
Alderman White?
No, sir.
Alderman Meyer?
Pass.
I have none as well. Discussion completed. And I ask for a roll call vote.
Alderman Burnett.
Yes.
Alderman Meyer.
Yes.
Alderman White.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Pavlin.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes. Let the record show the motion to approve ordinance 23-15 has been approved on the second reading by roll call vote. Okay, next will be business items. Looks like we have 3 to review and consider for approval. And the first one will be related to the ordinance and its approval of a 2024 GMC Sierra four-wheel drive crew cab pickup.
McKelvey is actually on training this week, and so I'll take his memo. But on October 12th, the board member Alderman approved a purchase of a 2024 Chevy Colorado 1500 four-wheel drive crew cab pickup in the amount of $41,757.70 through the state contract from Wilson County Motors. Recently, staff reviewed the vehicle, got word that the vehicle was no longer available for purchase. So a new vehicle is in its place, a 2024 GMC Sierra 1500. It will replace vehicle number 6. It's a 2013 Ford F-150 two-wheel drive. It's in the Public Works Department for $43,164.10. And the motion is to utilize the State of Tennessee Contract 209. Public Works recommends the approval of purchase of one vehicle from Wilson County Motors for $43,164.10.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, any resident comments on
No,
this
sir.
particular one? None. Okay, discussion, Alderman Meyer,
Pass.
Alderman Burnett, Vice Mayor,
I have nothing.
Alderman White.
None.
I have nothing as well. Discussion complete. I'll ask that if in favor, vote by saying yes.
Yes.
Any noes? Let the record show the request has been approved. Approval special event application for the Farragut High School Christmas Parade.
Good evening, Board and Alderman. Ron Ostrike, Parks and Recreation Director. Included in your packet is a request for approval of an event application for the Farragut High School Christmas Parade. The event is scheduled for Sunday, December 10th, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. And I have with me this evening Stephanie Thompson and Mandy Kincaid, who will be talking about the event.
Okay, thank you, Ron.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here we go. Sorry, I'm very short. The Farragut Christmas Parade Committee was formed and established to bring a unique holiday custom centered around families to the Farragut community. The organizers of this event are employed by Knox County Schools or hold PTO roles throughout our Farragut schools. We're parents. We have students that are built in each one of these schools, and we give a lot and volunteer a lot, and we just wanted to give something back to our students and our families. Our goal was to establish a parade that would showcase local small businesses and notable individuals while also giving families a taste of a small town life. But the reason why we all moved here, came back here, is to have that small town atmosphere and feel in the holidays. Our goals for last year was to get all 4 Farragut schools to participate in some capacity. We did that. That was accomplished. We had all schools represented. We're especially proud of our Farragut High School, SGA, and National Honor Society members who volunteered their time and got service hours, and also sold hot chocolate that benefited their special programs. We connected with local vendors, clubs, teams, and we started a social media site. And we did this all in under 60 days. It was a group of just late moms and volunteers that just really care about Farragut schools, and we came together and met once a week, problem solved, asked people in the community what they wanted, worked it up, made a plan, working with the Education Relations Committee, thank you, Ms. Pavlin, and really put it together to be something nice. We tried to problem solve in every area. We provided free activities for the kids, paid by community sponsors, and our sponsors in our community give so much anyway, and we are so thankful for our Farragut businesses. And also, we wanted to include those our school clubs and volunteer service hours
so proud of the kids that stayed after and cleaned both campuses. Started at FIS, came all the way down, cleaned up the high school till about 9 or 10 o'clock at night afterwards. We left the schools cleaner than the way they started with, and that's what we wanted to do. Was very proud about that. We were able to offer businesses and vendors a chance to, on Sunday, to be open. And when we surveyed, everyone had made a profit and could not believe the turnout and the generosity of our Farragut community. So that was another wonderful thing. With that, we came back to set up again. And always, you want to grow. You want to set new goals, talk to what's your needs assessment, what do we need. Definitely, we wanted to go ahead and have a larger social media presence. So we, this week, launched our website, www.farragutchristmasparade.com, which has all the paperwork, everything you need, and we'll showcase all of our wonderful sponsors on there. We had 2 suggestions from our community of what we needed to do. A longer route without a parade crossover. Even though we had measured everything out, we knew all the vehicles and the safety route, we were a little bit concerned about it crossing in its one spot. We had the Boy Scout troop there making sure, and we had people walking through, which was great. But we did notice that was one of our only negatives. And also bathrooms. It was a long time to wait, shopping and everything else, but we have already partnered with East Tennessee Portables, and there will be potties for everyone. With that, we have discussed with Parks and Rec, and working together, we came up with this new route. The older one that we used last year is on the back of your form, and with the new one, and I'm going to let Ms. Thompson talk about that.
Raise it back up. Sorry. So what we are proposing to do is to start at Farragut Intermediate, Farragut Middle School, where we started last year. But then when we come down to the 4-way stop, come down West End Avenue to that second island, come around the island, and then come right back up West End and head towards the high school. Then go around the wrong way of the circle, which I know is going to be hard for some of us, and end in the junior lot. That way, the parade won't cross over on itself. It will never meet up next to each other as it did last year. So we're asking for that West End Avenue closure. Anything else? Okay. Any questions?
Move to approve the special event application for the Farragut High School Christmas Parade.
Second.
Farragut High School, the Farragut Christmas Parade.
Second.
Okay. Do we have any comments from
No, sir.
our residents on this one? No, we do not. Okay, we'll start off with Alderman Burnett.
Sure, thanks. I mean, if you were not there last year, you need to put it in your calendar tonight. The product that they put out, and here and now that it was 60 days, is just ridiculous. I mean, it was amazing. And I'm not going to lie, that was Sunday afternoon. I had a big event that evening, and I was staring at the couch and really wanted to stay there, but felt I needed to come. And what that parade was absolutely amazing. It was the smallest town feel, but at the same time, you had people all the way around the senior circle, line, businesses. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. I know Vice Mayor got to walk it with me, and I just couldn't say enough about it. Everybody I've talked to, I've said, you have to add this, just like your 4th of July parade. It's nowhere near as big right now, but it is absolutely out of this world. So I commend y'all so much, and we've talked a lot in the Parks and Rec board that we need to support y'all however we can, and I apologize I couldn't be at that meeting with y'all. I knew Ron could take care of it, but, you know, after I left that parade last year, I said, we got to get to Kingston Pike. We got to get to Kingston Pike, and that's not easy. That's a big highway that takes some time to grow to and get on. But I think this is a phenomenal route. I love bringing people down West End and filling West End. and getting people in businesses in West End. So couldn't be more excited. I've sent a few emails throughout the year saying, is this going to happen again? Please, is it going to happen? Let us help. And was so excited to hear from Stephanie that y'all are doing it. So wish you the best luck in the world. And again, if I or the Parks and Rec Board or Ron can help in any way, please let us know.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Burnett. Vice Mayor?
I can't really add much. I know that this kind of started as a shout across the room, we need a Christmas parade. And just a, hey, did you think about the high school, the school campus? And then the light bulb went off and Mandy was on her way. And it was, you guys have done a wonderful job. I mean, you really did not have to spend as much time as you did here. It was, you were yes before you stood up there.
Surprise grand marshals you all really enjoyed.
Oh, that's good. It was very enjoyable. It was very tight when it came back on itself, so I'm glad you guys have resolved that. But that's what happens when you learn some lessons from last year, and what I really appreciated was the stories of what you guys found for the garbage that you picked up and made our campus a lot nicer afterwards. So thank you for all that you guys have done. It can't be done we can't do what we do in our community without volunteers, and you guys did such a great job. I'm looking forward to it again this year.
Okay, thank you, Vice Mayor. Alderman Meyer?
So I was not able to attend last year. I feel guilty, though, and I'm jealous because it sounds like it was a wonderful opportunity to get into the Christmas spirit. So I just want to thank both of you for your hard work and your dedication to this event. It's volunteers like you that make Farragut the hometown that I so much love and appreciate. So I definitely plan to be there this year, and I very much support the event.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Meyer. Alderman White?
I think it's all been said, Mayor.
Okay, well, unfortunately, I didn't make it last year because I had family in town, but this year, being on the 10th, they'll not be here till a little bit later, so I'll be able to attend. So, okay, with discussion completed, I'll ask if in favor, vote by saying yes.
Yes.
Let the record show the request has been approved.
Thank you all
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you.
We really
you.
appreciate it.
Okay, next will be approval of ratification of the real estate purchase and donation agreement. It was
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. May I have the floor for a point of order, a legal question, and then a motion?
Okay, are we doing something wrong? Is that the reason for your point of order?
Yes.
Okay, please explain what we're doing wrong.
Okay.
Because I've not been able to read it yet, so I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Item C on the agenda is redundant, unnecessary, and not consistent with the already ratified contract. The board, in a motion, June 22nd of 2023, authorized the negotiation and the execution of the final contract. This contract was executed by the authorized person and ratified on or about September the 3rd, 2023. Section 1012 of the contract states, if the purchaser causes a signed original of this agreement to be delivered to the seller or its agent, such delivery shall be considered to be an offer by the purchaser. All of this occurred to be consistent with the contract after 60-day inspection. After a 60-day inspection period, we only have two options that are consistent with the contract, and that is to terminate this agreement or do nothing. The term we used on our 60-day period after signing and ratifying this was due diligence. The actual term used in the contract is inspection period. Section 10.2 of the contract states this agreement shall be binding upon the anew to the benefit of the parties hereto and their respective heirs, devices, personal representatives, and successors and assignees. So this contract, Mayor, has already been ratified. It's legal. It was approved by the board. It's been signed by everybody. We do not need another motion to ratify. The only motion available to us by the contract is to well, the only motion that's available is to rescind the contract or move on.
Or affirm
Well-
we do not wish to terminate.
It's already been affirmed.
Okay. Are you finished?
Well, I have a legal question and then I have a motion.
Well, we will let the legal question go to our attorney, Tom Hale. Does that suit your
Yes, sir.
request?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hale, there is a clause in the contract that states loosely that if we begin construction of any kind of park, then the town is then responsible for the road at its own cost. So my question is, in the engineering report, wait just a minute, in the engineering report, we have a residential house, 2 barns, 2 silos, and a well. If this board or any other board decided that we should go in and demolish those and get rid of them, would that be considered the beginning of a construction on the park?
It would depend on the circumstances. I would say not.
Okay. Then I have a motion, Mr. Mayor.
I thought we were going to talk about whether or not there's anything wrong with ratifying the contract. There was a lot of complaining about the fact that there hadn't been a meeting where all 5 aldermen were present, and Mr. Smoke in his wisdom thought, well, let's put it on the agenda again so everybody that can come and say what they want to say. And that's
I
why
do
it's
understand
on the agenda, and that's
I do
why
understand that, but the truth of the matter is it's already ratified.
I agree with you 100%, but there's nothing wrong with doing it again. If people want to come and say what they want to say, they don't think they've had an opportunity, then you can come and say what you want to say.
Well, they
This
can
is the
say it after
problem.
my
Look,
motion if
the
you'd
problem
let me
we've got
make the
here
motions.
is the problem we've got here is nobody wants to talk about the merits of the purchase. Everybody wants to talk about side issues that don't have anything to do with the merits of the purchase. It's on the agenda. It's been advertised. It's been discussed at about 3 meetings now, maybe 4, and everybody's had every opportunity they want to come and talk about it.
If you would
And-
let me make my motion
Well,
and
I
finish.
don't know what's wrong with having a ratification, though. That's what I don't understand.
You
And-
should have understood it. I just told you. It's been ratified twice, which is unnecessary and repetitive.
So
Why do you
it-
want to do
okay.
that?
So it may be.
Listen to
Let's
my
do it
motion,
again.
and before you
Okay, go ahead.
decide,
Go ahead.
if the mayor will let me make it.
Go ahead. Make your motion, sir, please.
I move that we remove item C from the agenda under business items and move forward to the closing. There you go.
Thank you. Okay, with sufficient time for a second, there is no second, so the motion fails. Now, can I read what I need to read? Thank you. Again, approval of ratification of the real estate purchase and donation agreement that was executed by the mayor, as previously authorized by the Farragut Board and Mayor and Alderman, on June the 22nd, 2023, between the town of Farragut and Timothy and Todd Scott, for the purchase/donation of a total of 70 acres of land located off McPhee Road and being a portion of Knox County Tax Map 163, parcels 24.02 and 24.03. 2, affirm the town moving forward with transaction with the knowledge of information gathered during the due diligence period. And 3, authorize the mayor town administrator, and town attorney to negotiate and execute the final closing documents necessary in their discretion and judgment to close the transaction in accordance with the terms and conditions set forth in the real estate purchase and donation agreement.
Mayor, yes, sir. Thank you. So obviously, we've had a lot of discussion about this property already. We have been in discussion with the Scott family about the potential purchase of a portion of their land located off of McPhee Road and directly north of the railroad tracks at the southwestern boundary of the town of Farragut. The Board of Mayor and Alderman did approve a letter of intent on June 22nd, 2023 to purchase 55 acres of land for a total of $5.5 million, and then receive an additional donation of land from the Scott family of 15 acres for a total purchase and donation of 70 acres. On August 30th of this year, as authorized by the letter of intent, Mayor Williams did sign the attached real estate purchase and donation agreement that is in your packet. And this agreement formalizes the parameters that were included in the LOI and provides for a 60-day inspection period to perform engineering studies as necessary. This would also give the town the right to terminate this agreement for any reason by October 29th, 2023 without penalty. The board at that meeting also approved a contract with Cannon & Cannon, who utilized SM&E consultants to perform an ALTA survey, geotechnical studies on the property, perform a Phase 1 environmental site assessment and jurisdictional waters assessment, as well as a threatened and endangered species report. Our consultant, Brad Salisbury, is here with SM&E, and I'd like to ask Brad to come on down at this time to give his report of what they performed on the property, as well as any conclusions, and be able to answer any questions that the board may have. I know Brad's got another meeting he's got to attend this evening, so I want to be diligent with his time as well.
Thank you, David. The report was, as Mr. Smoke had said, a environmental site assessment, a geotechnical report, a threatened and endangered species, natural resources, which is waters, and an ALTA survey. The findings were consistent with agricultural land within this area. There was nothing abnormal, nothing that was not expected, or very simply a typical agricultural piece of property in this area. So there really wasn't anything out of the ordinary. I'm happy for any questions and anything that you may have. So.
Okay, Brad, thank you. For questions, I'm going to start out with Alderman White.
None.
None. Alderman Meyer.
These are, you're just asking about questions for this gentleman, right?
Yes.
Oh, no questions. Thank you.
Alderman Burnett.
No questions.
Vice Mayor.
I have none.
I have none as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll-
Yes, sir. So, and moving forward then, if the Board of Mayor and Alderman elect to move forward with the purchase of the property, a closing date would be set between now and the end of the inspection period, up to November 15th, 2023. I'll let Town Attorney Tom Hale just talk about some of those closing parameters and documents that we may need to do at closing, if you don't mind, Tom.
Be happy to. Let me say first that these transactions usually happen in sort of three phases. First, you have the substantive terms agreed to by the parties. And the reason for that is that no buyer is going to want to spend money paying an engineer to do the due diligence until they feel like they have the substantive terms agreed to in writing. So we got the letter of intent in this case. We then moved to the contract. The letter of intent was very detailed in this instance because it was a little bit of an unusual transaction because it's got the donation piece and it's got some restrictive covenants that apply to the donation piece. So that's a little different. So we got the contract in place, and then we did the due diligence, which you've heard about. Every real estate closing has closing documents, deeds. All of y'all probably bought a house, you know, there are deeds, there's closing statements. In this case, there is a restrictive covenant that has to be applied to the property, to the donation tract, because the agreement of the parties is that the donation tract will only be used for certain things. there is also our agreement, and actually, it was not just our agreement, but the seller insisted, if they're going to sell the property, that they have a way to get from the property they own on the backside of this land to McPhee Road in some fashion. Well, because we don't know, as Alderman Burnett said earlier, we don't know how this property is going to actually be used and developed, and we don't know when. We couldn't set a firm location for the easement. So what we have agreed to do is to provide an easement to satisfy the seller that they have a right to get from their property across our property to McPhee Road. And that is going to be a temporary easement to be changed after after we decide what we're going to do with the property. And then we go and we decide how we're going to use the property, and then we build our road to get to how we're going to use the property. If we go halfway down the length of the property and we build a road to what we're going to do there, that's what we would pay for. And then the way the agreement reads is that the seller, if they want to tie into our roadway, wherever it ends up, then they can build the road coming forward to tie into our roadway. So all of these provisions are going to be written down in a document to satisfy everybody. There's going to be a closing statement, but somebody has to we might have 10 closing documents. Well, we're going to come back here and have you all approve all 10 closing documents? That's never done. Corporations don't operate that way. Municipal governments don't operate that way. So what we're asking here is that the people that understand how to close real estate transactions be authorized to put those documents in place consistent with the provisions of the agreement and move forward with the closing. If that's what you all decide you want to do, is to move forward with the closing. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to elaborate further.
Okay, we'll start again with Alderman White.
No, I think I've said it all. Nobody paid any attention, so let's just move on.
Thank you. Alderman Meyer.
I pass.
Alderman Burnett.
No questions.
Vice Mayor.
No questions.
I have none as well. Okay, at this point, we will go ahead and,
Mayor, if I could just jump in, I would just want to make sure we got the motion on the record for the board.
yeah,
Okay.
I was headed that way.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mayor. Apologize.
I was going to ask if we had any more comment from the town administrator or our attorney.
Just that staff recommends approval of moving forward with the purchase of the
Okay,
property.
that's what I wanted
Yes,
to
sir.
hear. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the approval of the ratification of the real estate purchase and donation agreement that was executed by the mayor as previously authorized by the Farragut Board of Mayor and Alderman on June 22nd, 2023 between the town of Farragut and Timothy and Todd Scott for the purchase/donation of a total of 70 acres of land located off McPhee Road and being a portion of Knox County Tax Map 162, parcels 24.02 and 24.03. Affirm the town moving forward with the transaction with knowledge of the information gathered during the due diligence period, and authorize the mayor, town administrator, and town attorney to negotiate and execute the final closing documents necessary in their discretion and judgment to close the transaction in accordance with the terms and conditions set forth in the real estate purchase and donation agreement.
I second.
Clarification on the tax map number.
162, parcels 24.02 and 24.03.
Mr. Hale, can you clarify that?
I'm sorry.
Are those the correct parcels? Is that what you're asking?
It's in the agreement.
It's, yeah, that's what's in the agreement.
Okay,
And,
so-
and it will also be in accordance with the survey that we've had done, it'll be a total of 70 acres. 15 of it will be the donation tract, and 55 acres of it will be the part that we're actually paying for. And that's laid out in the survey.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I just always want to have clarification when we're talking about tax map. Okay, do we have any residents signed up to speak?
Yes, sir. Our first one is Millie Bass at 13016 Allen Kirby.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, excuse me, Alderman, and other town officials. My name is Millie Bass. My husband and I have been living in our home that we built 38 years ago, along with my parents. That property is adjacent to the Scott property. And I'm afraid I'm going to repeat the same things that I said at the previous meeting. As a veterinarian, I hesitate to beat a dead horse, but that's what I'm going to do. We are very much appreciative of the fact that our neighbor, the Scotts, are willing to sell this property to the town at a very reasonable rate, in addition to donating some of their land. That land is going to be sold. We also appreciate very much the fact the town is stepping in and making this purchase so that the land will not be developed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Bass.
Our second speaker is Mike Mitchell.
Mike Mitchell, 716 Brixworth. Looking at the charter and the way the town was formed, who is the government? It refers to the residents as the government. Mr. Smoke is an employee, Mr. Hale is a contractor, we have Allison who's an employee, and then we have our elected representatives. This is very different, the agenda tonight, from the agenda on June 22nd. On June 22nd, the only thing that was on the agenda was approval of a letter of intent. Tonight, it's broken into 3 items. Those other 2 items were not in the agenda. They were in the meeting packet. Now, as long as I've lived here, which is 41 years, every mayor has always said the agenda is at the front door. Well, the agenda's always been the agenda and the protocol for speaking. So on June 22nd, there was no mention of the town administrator and the town attorney creating a purchase agreement and allowing the mayor to execute it. The mayor executed that agreement on September 1st. No one would know about that had it not been for an open records request by Kimberly Parks. So it was signed, sealed, and delivered on September 1st. No one knew. The problem is the people are the government. And on June 22nd, material facts in a real estate contract were hidden from the people. I caused some commotion when I asked who altered the plat map, because in Tennessee, altering a government document is a crime. I asked who put the altered plat map in the meeting packet, and there was never an answer to that. I knew the answers before I asked the question from the open records request. That plat map omitted a 1.73 acre sinkhole in the good land. And the good land is the 15 donated acres. Back when this was going to be ball fields, this map, which was in the Knoxville Focus today, and I've provided to the Farragut Press. Mr. Smoke gave this map to the Alderman when he was talking about ball fields. I obtained it from Alderman White. And what it shows is the 55 acres is old-growth forest. So there was never going to be 119 homes with 1,000 daily trips, or as another member of the board said, 200 homes. Interest rates are almost 8%. The school board turned this down because it would cost $3 million to put a road through the old-growth forest. So from the very beginning, this map was not in the meeting packet. That is a material fact in a real estate contract. You've done a great job of trying to cure the open meetings violation. I praise you for what you've done in the packet and the agenda. That's what you should have done on June 22nd. Mr. Hale can talk about the Fansler decision from Black Wednesday in 2007 and 2008. In Knox County, violating the Open Meetings Act is more severe than any other county due to the Fansler decision, which was appealed and upheld. Only 2 members of the board voted to approve that contract, the mayor and the vice mayor. According to the Fansler decision, they can be removed. You're trying to unring the bell, but what you cannot do is you cannot unring the bell on hiding material facts on a real estate contract from the government. We are the government. It's our money. So if you vote for this tonight, I believe you're perpetuating a fraud. Thank you.
Next.
Next speaker is Kimberly Parks.
Kimberly Parks, Farragut Hills Boulevard. Thank you tonight for the opportunity to speak on this subject. Upon careful consideration for tonight, I do not have much to say on this topic. But what I will say is thank you, Alderman White, for your comments tonight. I do agree with you. There wasn't enough notice. I say this because while at football games over the past several weeks with my middle schoolers, no one even knew about this purchase. What I do want to say is that trying to cover up and cure an Open Meetings Act violation with the motion using the terminology given the letter of intent, one of the other does not cover the other. I would reread the motion and the letter of intent and not just take word of the town staff and the mayor. If I were you and I were in your shoes in the shoes of Alderman White, Burnett, or Meyer, I would exercise caution in supporting this proposed land acquisition. It is paramount that we collectively avoid being entangled in a potentially adverse situation. Akin to the idiom of not wishing to go down with the ship, I would fret from going to it. Thank you.
Next.
Mike Wilson.
Good evening, Michael Wilson, 412 Eisenhower Street, Farragut, Tennessee. The hearing and approval of this item has been challenged with missing information, improper community notification, and a host of other concerns. Here are a few. Town officials have said that if the town doesn't buy this land, a developer will put approximately 120 homes on it. Yet the developer in question has stated he would leave this portion of the land vacant as part of the 35% open space requirement under the OSR ordinance. So with or without this $5 million investment by the town, the land is likely going to remain open space with minimal construction. The plat map provided to the residents at the BOMA June 22nd meeting was missing a key material fact, the 1.73 acre sinkhole. As I brought up in the September BOMA meeting, the 3-page June 22nd agenda did not include the second half of the motion. This is a potential violation of the Tennessee Open Meetings Act. Specifically, the second half granted authority to 2 town officials and the mayor to negotiate and execute the contract. This was not discussed in the town administrator's presentation, in the verbal motion, and there was zero discussion of this authority being granted during that meeting. To me, this last concern is the most troubling. After I raised the Open Meeting Act concerns, the town administrator at a subsequent workshop stated that this item would be back on tonight's agenda for ratification. I believe that the reason that we are here tonight is to cure the previous Open Meetings Act violation on June 22nd. Why do I believe this? If this was coming back to BOMA, why didn't the town administrator mention it in the September BOMA meeting when I raised the Open Meetings Act concern? If this was coming back to BOMA, why did the town attorney tell the September workshop participants, quote, "There was absolutely no reason to go back to the Board of Mayor and Alderman to have them rubber stamp a contract that I and another attorney were in agreement with," unquote. The reality is this was not coming back to BOMA until the issue was raised about the Open Meetings Act violation. Finally, review item 6C in tonight's agenda you picked up on your way in. Compared to what was presented on June 22nd, 2023, you will find that the June 22nd version, only the letter of intent was mentioned. Tonight you have the letter of intent and the authorities for the mayor, town administrator, and town attorney. Why the disparity between these two? So why does any of this matter? It's bigger than a purchase of 70 acres of land. The town of Farragut was founded to provide a local government that makes decisions based on citizen engagement. Misinformation about potential homes being built on this land and the missing material facts from the June 22nd BOMA package should concern all citizens. On top of these, the authority being granted that night was not included in the agenda, briefed by the town administrator, discussed as part of the proceedings, nor was it mentioned in the verbal motion. How long did it take the alderman to make the motion tonight? In that meeting, it was moved to approve. The only way a resident would know that it was included was to review page 69 of a 136-page document. Yet tonight you were sure to include all this information on the actual agenda. To a reasonable person, these actions would indicate that on June 22nd there was an attempt to hide the negotiation and execution authorities. Is this really how our town founders envisioned our government to operate? Shouldn't all agenda items be documented as the one for this evening was done? That didn't happen on June 22nd, and it's likely the reason we're here tonight. After the September workshop, the Farragut Press quoted Mr. Hale stating, "Mitchell should, quote, focus on the merits of the purchase instead of every little detail that makes no difference to the outcome," unquote. In other words, the ends justify the means. Do they really justify the means if they're potentially illegal? Public institutions must act openly and with integrity in their deliberations. On June 22nd, that didn't happen. A vote in favor of this purchase is a vote in favor of using misinformation, improper notification, and the omission of key points in a public meeting to approve something you want. These behaviors do not support the spirit of the Tennessee Open Meetings Act or the town's founding principles. Regardless of what you think about this purchase, the fact that it came from a questionable process warrants your vote against it. I hope some of you have the integrity and the intestinal fortitude to do just that. Thank you.
Next.
Pam Stevens.
This mic sounds rather hot tonight, so I'm going to stand back a little bit. Pam Stevens, 200 Battery Hill Circle. I would like the board and aldermen to know that I am in total support, 100% support the purchase of this property. I think it has great opportunities and possibilities, including an educational classroom. I come from an environmental science background, and it's just a perfect opportunity. Boy Scout, Girl Scout projects, just like I said, the possibilities are endless. So I just want you to know I'm 100% in favor of purchasing this material. And I think it's not necessarily once in a lifetime, but a rare opportunity with the confines of our town. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Tim Scott.
Half of the Tim Scott, Todd Scott sellers, if you will. I'm a normally very private person. I got quite an education about how politics works through all this. I learned that when you buy a big piece of property, your name gets put in the paper. I didn't know that. I learned when your name gets put in the paper, people start calling you. I don't know how they get your cell phone number, but they start calling. The first call was Knox County School. I didn't return the call. Then it was 4 different developers in town. Didn't return the call. Then it was 2 developers from Chattanooga. Didn't return the call. Then it was 2 developers from Nashville, one that eventually came over here and I think did some work in Farragut. Then I learned they write about you in the paper when you buy a piece of property. And they just assume the worst of who you are. The Thompsons owned this farm before my brother and I bought it. We weren't looking for a farm this big or in this location. We wanted to get a little farther away from town. But through some circumstances, it ended up that the Thompson family wanted us to buy the farm. They want us to buy the farm because their parents, B. Ray and his wife, were some of the best people in town. You probably knew who they were because they were extremely wealthy. But you probably didn't know what they did for the town because they kept their name out of most things. The only thing I think their name is on in this town, much to their chagrin, is Thompson Bowling Arena, because the contractor went broke in the middle of that construction project, and the Thompsons loved the University of Tennessee, and they gave a donation to make sure that building could be completed. They didn't really know that their name was going to be put on the building till later, and at that point it was a little political, and they didn't. It was shared. Probably what you don't know is they started a trust fund, and they gave, or a trust, and they gave a ton of their wealth into that so that they could support the poor people of Appalachia, Eastern Kentucky, Northeastern Tennessee, and they gave that money away. They gave their farm away. They were really generous people. Farragut Press wrote a little article. They took the time to read the contract. It was very informative. It was accurate. It was entitled, "Here Comes Scotland." The one thing that maybe wasn't super accurate in that is there was a line that said, inexplicably, they've asked for the naming rights to the school. I'm a C- student. I had to look up inexplicably to make sure I knew what that meant. And what that means is it's unexplainable. And being exposed to attention that I wasn't usually being exposed to, I thought, unexplainable means you can't explain why somebody would want the naming rights to a school. But if you took the time, everybody else found my phone number, and you called me, I would have told you. It was going to be a surprise to the Thompson people that were left alive, because their parents, who were wonderful people who gave most of their wealth away, died horrible deaths of cancer. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to surprise the family if I gave them the opportunity to honor their parents by possibly naming the school or having a monument put at the school to their parents, because it's on their parents' farm. Never in my life did I assume I would name it after me or my family. I don't like the public. I don't want to be in the public. The school thing, somebody mentioned the school pulled out. I pulled out of the school thing because it got much political like this, and people started fighting in back rooms about the school. I was just trying to do something for the community because we got enough houses. God bless everybody that wants to move here. I moved here from Michigan when I was 14. The reason I moved here from Michigan when I was 14 is I got the education on a term called bankruptcy. And that means you don't own the house you live in and that you don't own the cars you ride around in. And when my family moved here, we moved into a one-room apartment behind Bearden High School. And for the next 4 years, we lived in apartments. But you know what we did have? We had Concord Park. We had Anchor Park. We had Carl Cowan Park. You know what we never asked when we were kids, having a picnic, getting the heck out of our apartments? Wonder who the alderman were who voted on this park. Wonder who the mayor was when we got this park.
Scott, you can go over your time.
So,
You need to say what you need to say.
so when the school thing failed, and I have multiple layouts from a developer who will buy this tomorrow, the houses vary from a lot to quite a lot. I thought, wouldn't it be nice to make it a park? And if they'll do a park, I'll give them some land. I'm not going to give the developer any land. I'm going to make more money if I sell it to him. But make no mistake, drive across Watt Road if you want to see they can knock trees down. They can take a mountain down. And they will. And they'll put more houses. And yes, there'll be 30% green space that needs to be left. A 1.5 acre sinkhole area is nice 30% green space left. So there'll be houses everywhere else. I've sat and seen them laid out. The fact of the matter is, guys, I made an agreement with the Thompsons. As long as I'm alive, I won't develop that property other than this little piece. And as long as they're alive, they won't develop their little piece of property. And I'll tell you this, I have been carrying the interest on this property, knowing I can't afford to own it without selling a little piece of it, trying to get the school. It turned political. I quit. Then I had the thought, thinking about my childhood, that if the Farragut would want for a park, what a nice thing to be. We would be the premier place in Knox County with the green space that would be here for the community. At the end of the day, if this doesn't get voted for, I'm not for or against. Whatever you all decide is great with me, but I am ready to sign a contract with a developer because I'm not going to carry this into November when the interest rates go up again. So I appreciate that y'all have the forum. I appreciate everybody's opinion, for and against. Facts are facts. I'm to the point where I hope that they take this, and I hope they use it for the community. And people that don't live in Farragut, that don't have the means to live in Farragut, can come use these parks. And I hope it turns into a park. If it doesn't, it's going to turn into more driveways, more cars, and more traffic. And I appreciate the way y'all have handled it. I have not seen anything nefarious since I've done this, so maybe there was, but I don't see it. And I appreciate the time, and I appreciate the ability to have property in Farragut. And I can tell you this, if it is a park, and if you do what you say you're going to do as Farragut, I promise you this, we'll have more park when I die in Farragut, because we're not developing that property. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have one more speaker. It's Jeannie Prokowski. I have one more speaker.
Oh, okay, sure. Thank you, Mr. Scott.
Hi, I'm Jeannie Brykolski. I live in the Bel Air subdivision on Crestview Road. Hadn't actually planned on speaking tonight, but I wanted to clarify a few things. Number one, I support the park. Number two, I support the residents of the McPhee Park area. As far as how people found out about the meeting from October at the community center, even though apparently it seemed there were some glitches as far as it not being on the website or being on or in the Farragut Press Enterprise, there were private citizens who were posting about it on Nextdoor and Facebook. There's 3 of them here tonight that did this. There were private citizens that sent out emails to their friends and neighbors. I'm one of those that did that. And there's another one sitting here tonight who also did that I know of. So I'm sure there were other people who did that also. Just because there was a glitch does not mean that there weren't other private citizens in our community who care about what's going on in our community and who will take the time to share that information. That being said, After listening to Mr. Scott, I think that his offer to the town to have the town buy this property for a park is a generous one. And if we don't, there's going to be a developer standing right there. We heard him speak at the citizen input session. I was one of the many people there who do not live in the McPhee Park area who attended. So anyway, I just want to say I support the park. I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do with it. And also, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Does that conclude
Yes, sir.
our citizens' comments? Okay. Well, we've had what I consider a sufficient amount of comment from our staff and our committee members, unless someone has something else they want to bring up, then I'll
Mr.
ask.
Mayor, I'd like to say one thing. That
Okay.
there's the contention has been made that somehow the Open Meetings Act was violated. I've watched this whole thing very carefully. It has not been violated. The agenda that was published back when the letter of intent was approved was coupled with an entire agenda packet that people have complained it was 100 and something pages, the whole packet, and you had to look at every 100 and something pages to get to the matter. The reality is there was about 2 pages in that. If you went to the agenda and you went to the packet and you looked at the packet and the agenda item, you could see exactly what the recommended motion was going to be. The one thing you do need to keep in mind is when you're preparing an agenda, you don't know what the motion is going to be because this body makes the motion. So what you put in the agenda usually, unless you've got people who want to criticize everything that is done, you generally would just put the subject matter of what you're talking about so that everybody knows that's what you're talking about. And they can come and they can chime in any way they want to. But we went beyond that. We had the whole packet. We had all the information in the packet that anybody could look at if they wanted to on the internet. Or they could have come to town hall and gotten a copy of any of it. So the whole purpose of the Open Meetings Act is to inform people about the general subject matter. You cannot inform people about every detail that's going to be talked about when an agenda item comes up. It is impractical. So for those of you who are concerned or might be concerned, there has been no violation of the Open Meetings Act. There's been nothing wrong done here. We're here tonight as evidence of the fact that people wanted to have more input. They've had more input. But the interesting thing is we hadn't heard a whole lot about the merits of the transaction, except from the people that are for it. The people that are against it don't want to talk about the merits and what good it's going to do for the town and the people that live in this area, because they know that it's going to be good. So I think the spirit of the law has been followed, the letter of the law has been followed, and you should not be concerned about that aspect of it.
I'd like the floor for a couple of comments, Mayor, about them same things that have been said, if I may have it.
As usual, Mr. White, I will allow it.
Thank you. Comments from one of the speakers regarding the 3 or 4 or 5 citizens that are on next door and Facebook and whatever social media crap there is. That is not a legal or a way to notify of a town meeting that has to do with town business. It absolutely is not. And to think that 3 or 4 people notifying other people by that method, and to think that's official and that's sufficient is pretty pathetic. As far as some of Mr. Hale's comments, and I respect Mr. Hale highly, and I've told him so. As a person, I like him a lot. But to classify people who are complaining about the way we do business as troublemakers, they're citizens. They have as much right as the people that are positive to be negative as those people do. And I don't think they ought to be criticized for that. Everybody's got an opinion. And Mr. Hill, your opinion is very treasured, but let's face it, just because you have a law degree doesn't mean your opinion is any more important than mine or anybody else's, because it's just an opinion. And a law degree doesn't mean that your opinion is the law. It means your opinion, just as my opinion, just as anybody that's spoken here has an opinion. And whether it is illegal or legal or whatever, that will be determined somewhere, somehow, by somebody else. That's all, Mayor.
Okay,
I'm ready to vote.
great. Then we'll, Town Recorder, if you don't mind, I'd like to have a roll call vote, please.
Can we not make comments?
Oh, you want to comment?
Yeah, I have a
Oh,
comment.
I'm sorry.
Do you also have comments?
Go right ahead.
All right, I'll just push my way in here. I'm just going to say this is a no-brainer. Most constituents that I've talked to, and I've talked to quite a few, believe this acquisition is definitely a no-brainer. It preserves land from development, which means there's not going to be any impact on schools from the development of the land, and there's less traffic from this land when you compare it to residential development. Because we're purchasing the land at less than fair market value, I agree with my constituents, this is a no-brainer, and I will vote in favor of it.
Okay. Mr. Burnett?
Sure. I'm going to kind of skip my notes here, but I think you get the picture that I'm very much in support of this land. I think it's a very good deal on land. In terms of location, I mean, it's not my favorite. Clearly, I live there, so I love that area, but it would be ideal if the 70 acres were somewhere on the other side so you could balance things out. I completely agree with that, but that is not there. That is not available on the north side or centrally located. There's been talk that the North Ward needs another park. Completely agree. Last Parks and Rec meeting, we talked about that and asked Ron if he would do a study and bring some options for new parks in the North Ward, and it'll have my full support as well. But I do believe this park land is beyond once in a lifetime. If we pass on this, we never get anything close to this ever again. There are options for good pocket parks throughout Farragut, although those options are dwindling. But hopefully Ron and his staff can bring some good options to the Parks and Rec Board, and we can discuss that at the next meeting or the following meeting. So, I look at what could the downside to this be, and say we get 2, 3, 4 more boards from now, we have the ability to take this absolutely gorgeous land and sell it, and it will be worth a ton of money. I can say I will probably never ever be for that, but I probably also won't be here either, so I won't have a vote in it. But worst case scenario, this future boards would have an immediate out if some major catastrophe happened and we needed to get rid of the land we had. So I see no downside here. And again, this is one of those votes, on the surface, it's not as tangible, it's not as fun as voting to complete McPhee Park, where we can tangibly see something. But again, if you think back, nobody knows the board members' names who voted to approve Mayor Bob Leonard Park, to approve the original McPhee Park purchase. It's not the sexy vote and purchase, but it is so incredibly important because it makes our town what it is today. So in my opinion, You know, this sets the ground for future generations to have an amazing, amazing park that, Lord willing, my grandkids will get to play at one day. That's all I got.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, briefly. This meets the goals of the 2019, aligns with the McPhee Road Corridor Land Use Plan public input that we received in 2019. It meets the goals of our strategic plan, and it gives the community an opportunity to meet the goals they expressed during our update to our master park plan update. That was done a couple of years ago, which the top request was hiking trails. We already have adaptive trails. They don't take much trees out. I think they took out minimal trees to fit that adaptive trail in the current McPhee Park. There's an opportunity to work with the developer to extend it down straight from McPhee Park into this new area and save all those trees, which was always something that I think the community will want to do that. I appreciate Mr. Scott being here. I know that this has been very difficult for you. Some pretty cruddy things have been said. A lot of lies have been told and continue to be purveyed. I know that this property is developable and will develop. If we don't purchase it, it will be sold and it will develop. We are preserving 70 acres of land, 42 of which are heavily wooded, not to be used for housing. This has been a thing that people have lamented for some time. We're building too many houses, and we all understand. I've said it before. If you don't want property to develop, you need to purchase it. We don't want the property to develop it. We're purchasing it. I feel very comfortable with this. Think we have very good legal advice from an actual lawyer, and I'm comfortable, so I'll be supporting this.
A pretty good actual lawyer, too, I might add.
Apparently not.
Well, I think everybody's pretty well covered everything. And if there's nothing else, then I would please ask for a roll call vote.
Alderman Burnett,
Yes.
Alderman Meyer,
Yes.
Alderman White,
No.
Vice Mayor Pavlin,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, yes.
Don't forget I'm next.
Yeah, okay. Let the record show that the agreement has been approved as requested.
Surprise.
Okay, Vice Mayor, you deferred prior to citizen comments, and so you're up.
I appreciate you guys, your indulgence here. This is kind of unorthodox, but I felt that I needed to bring this to you so I can get some feedback from you, because I have some concerns. So I have a request for feedback from this board regarding an issue that was before the Farragut Municipal Planning Commission this past Thursday. Due to the possibility of staff having to expend a significant amount of time on a text amendment for a zoning ordinance that I am not entirely clear has board support, I wanted to present to you the issue at hand and get your general feedback. I am not looking for an extended debate, just a general understanding. An applicant presented a concept plan that, in his mind, addressed our medium-density residential land use. The proposal included townhomes, cottage-style detached homes, as well as 2 large-footprint, 3-story multifamily buildings. A plurality of the members of the MPC felt that the concept plan was appropriate for medium-density residential and directed staff to begin the work on a text amendment to R6 multifamily residential zoning district to allow for this or a similar development. I am concerned. The community has been emphatically clear that it does not support the construction of any more large footprint multifamily buildings. In 2021, the community provided input regarding what we envisioned to be appropriate in a medium-density residential land use. The character included small lot, single-family detached, cottage and townhomes, cottage homes and townhomes. The land use description for medium-density residential in the land use plan was amended to reflect the community input. My question to my fellow board members is this: is there majority support for a text amendment to the R6 multifamily zoning district to address the medium-density residential land use that would allow for 3-story multifamily buildings?
I'll make it real simple. Absolutely not. No more apartments in Farragut. I think we heard that message loud and clear with the Biddle Farm, and I will never support, ever, any more apartments in our town borders.
Drew, I know you haven't had much chance to look this over. I apologize. So it's these two
Yeah.
right here. And they want to amend the R6 zoning district to allow for a concept plan, but R6 is our multifamily. And it's mixed in there with cottage homes and townhomes and,
Yeah. I mean, I would say, I would start with the caveat that I would like to do a little more homework on it. But I can
Okay.
tell you two things. One, I'm not in support of more apartments. The small caveat there is, this is an area where I would consider it. I don't want anything on anything more on Kingston Pike. I don't want any more congestion in the area that would take a rezoning. This, though, is an area that I would, where I thought Topgolf just fits perfectly out there.
yeah.
These apartments across the street fit pretty well out there. So, in general, I do not want any more apartments, but I would care to maybe meet with staff and talk a little bit more about this development before I kind of say
Okay. Well,
official opinion.
And I'll provide you the rest of that. The perspective is whatever we do here, when you're looking at medium density, on the other side,
Got it.
yes. And once
Yeah,
you
that's a
open
big
that
deal.
up, that's the opportunity of it. And we would, the idea from the planning commission is that you align it with like a PCD, so the concept plan you're approving. But we've already closed the door, and now we're going to have to amend it again to allow for this. So that was my concern, but I understand, I'm just tossing this in front of you, and I just wanted to get your general impression about it. There is medium density in the land use plan. I don't have that with me, on our side of the highway. So this is a bigger thing than just this property.
Gotcha.
So-
That's
and
what I'd like to look at.
There's PR up to 12 units an acre right next to Tapestry on the other side in Knox County. So we can expect more apartments over there. So,
Hey, Mr. White, you got any comments on this subject matter?
Well, I would be concerned if this took place about the people living there, because I'm familiar with that property. And up on the upper side, there was an illegal dump there for years where trash and everything was buried there. Tires were burned, so I don't know how you'd ever build on that and be safe. So as a general rule, I would not be in favor of allowing
okay.
buildings to go there.
In my case, if you did not have these two apartment buildings as far as the concept of it, I mean, it's housing like what we don't have.
Yeah.
We've got plenty of apartments. If this was strictly a duplex, triplex, fourplex, townhome type of situation, then, and Mr. White is exactly right. I remember this piece of property as well, and it does have some things that need to probably be looked at, so
All right, I appreciate it. That's all I needed. Thank you.
Okay. Next will be citizens' comments.
We have Kimberly Parks.
Okay.
Change of pace. Kimberly Parks, Farragut Hills Boulevard. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight again. I want to especially thank Alderman White and Burnett for not involving themselves in the email, text, and social media harassment campaigns against me and the citizens of Farragut. If that prelude didn't concern you, well, it should. I'm going to talk tonight about the elephant in the room. And this is my way of doing something about it. As it was instructed to me to do by the mayor. I'm going to talk about the behavior of our officials. I'm going to speak to the violation of privacy and the harassment I have received over the last 2 years. Our government in general has all the power, only unless a citizen has the money to take them to court, or if the comptroller has grounds to take an investigation to the DA. Even then, the DA can decide not to pursue it. The mayor and vice mayor very well know this fact and are cozy with the DA here in Knox County. I know this because it is quoted several times throughout the emails obtained through open records requests. One notably said, "Good luck with that $25K injunction." I get it. This is a defense mechanism for our leadership. But to me, I question, should our leadership be operating with this type of ethics? Shouldn't our leadership want to do the right thing when no one is looking? I also hear from this, you do not feel that our opinions are valid. Decisions have been made not to read some of our concerns into the record during the COVID public meeting, which we were refused the right to attend. That to me is very concerning. Alderman Wright and Burnett do not demonstrate this behavior, but rest assured, to include some of the others, the town staff as well. During our open records request, the following was discovered. Mayor and vice mayor colluded with the Farragut Press reporter and publisher on multiple occasions to include editing articles. The mayor violated citizens' rights to participate in public meetings by stating that their comments will not be read into the record when every other citizen's comments were. The mayor and vice mayor libelling citizens to whole staff and other citizens of the town. The vice mayor using her position to intimidate a news reporter in the county. The town staff libelling citizens to the leadership of the town. And last but not least, the mayor requested mine and 2 other citizens' IP addresses to use to surveil us without our knowledge. Being a military veteran, I have friends all over the world, some who work for our nation's cybersecurity department, and I have been told what you have done, Mr. Mayor, is against the law. Do any of the aldermen know what can be done with IP addresses that have been identified as a citizen? Do any of the aldermen know what is the point of trying to find this information out without a warrant or a subpoena? Outside of myself and the 2 other citizens, in the history of Farragut, has this ever happened? Have you ever tried to track a citizen's IP address? The answer is no. This is a complete violation of my privacy and a violation of trust. I'm not bringing this issue up to grandstand, but to help bring awareness to this issue. As duly noted, I do not have the means to have my date in court with you. Back in August, the mayor had been so kind to dare me to do something about the slander when I caught him slandering me during the town of Farragut citizens input session. This is pure intimidation by an elected official, and he was slandering me, and what he was saying was not true. There's always 2 sides to every story, and this time you got it wrong. This is a false accusation towards me and a narrative that was created by a couple of neighbors who have been harassing me, which has been reported to the sheriff. One of these neighbors has multiple harassment reports against them by unrelated incidents and has been warned by the sheriff to stop. This neighbor is seen in the records request receiving thanks by the vice mayor for his efforts to continue to battle against the citizens on social media. The other used to be an employee of the town and has continued the harassment. I have been harassed at my home with glitter bombs, by mail, harassed by neighbors, harassed by phone, by email, at work, by social constructs. I have been demoralized, devalued, and attempts have been made to make me disappear by the very people the mayor and vice mayor call upon to do their dirty work. I was not going to address this in public forum or on the record. I had decided before the mayor dared me, I was going to forgive and move on. I was even going to apologize. If you do not believe me, you can even ask one of the Planning Commission members that I had the conversation with. I have changed my mind, though. On top of the harassment over the 2 years, I have had 2 years of nothing but tragedy in my family. But yet all of you are laughing at the turmoil and harassment that has been caused. Let's make a note that the group of 17 individuals that have been doing this has depleted. The ones that have stopped harassing me, it was after they had a conversation with me and they realized I was not the monster that leadership of the town has painted me to be. The real monsters are our elected officials. Thank you.
That's all of our speakers tonight.
Are we done with,
Yes, sir, that's all of our speakers.
does anyone else have anything else? Then we'll go on to the town administrator's report.
Yes, sir, Mayor. Two things tonight. First is one of our biggest events of the year is going to happen tomorrow night, Freaky Friday at Mayor Bob Leonard Park. We're going to have a great weather, so I anticipate tons of kids and families out there having a great time, getting lots of candy from town as well as businesses in our community. That'll be from 5 to 7 tomorrow night at Mayor Bob, so if you want to get there, I'd get there early to get a parking spot. Also, our Intro to Farragut graduation is coming up. We have a few of our Intro to Farragut classmates here tonight. We appreciate them attending our meeting. But that'll be on November the 8th at the Community Center at 6 o'clock, and you should have gotten your invitations to attend that. So with that, that's all I have to report.
Okay, thank you. Town attorney's report.
Yes, if I could for a moment. I've been doing this for a long time. It seems like about every 10 years, I feel a need to thank you all for what you endure out of the goodness of your hearts. I know, because I'm around you all a lot, that you understand that there can be disagreement and that people don't always agree with how you view these things. And I don't think I've ever had an alderman that I've worked with that was ever felt bad or uneasy or got their feelings hurt because someone disagreed with them on the merits of the issue. What I have problems with and what I have to every now and then mention, I think, because it makes me feel better, I don't know that anybody pays any attention to it, but that there is no need for accusing good people who are doing good public work of being nefarious or hiding things, or because think about what we heard tonight, we're hiding something. Well, everything has been on the table and available for anybody to listen to for at least 2 months. And if you didn't find out about it until a month ago, well, you still had a month, and you had 2 meetings you could come to and talk about it. So, we're going to run off all the good people that are willing to run for these offices if people in the public don't get control of accusing people of doing wrong. And, I mean, it just really bothers me that we're going to end up, I mean, I look around the government in this country and I wonder, and sometimes it makes me understand why we have the level of representation in some levels of the government that we have. Why would anybody want to be subjected to what happens sometimes for no good reason? And just for the record, I feel the need to say that every now and then. I've written it before a couple of times in the newspaper because it seems to me every now and then it just sort of gets out of control and people think it's okay to sort of suggest that everybody's dishonest or taking money or without any basis for any of it. It's just not appropriate. So thanks for letting me vent a little bit. I feel better.
Okay. This has been an interesting night, folks. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. The time is approximately 7:44, and without objection, October 26, 2023 Farragut Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting is now adjourned.